I didn't realize up until now, I hadn't muted us. So we've been top screen and talking. Hi, everybody. For 7 minutes, we've been chatting on the top screen there.
What am I going to do with you, Tempest?
I thought it muted us. I mean, technically speaking, when I throw this up on YouTube, I'll cut that entire thing out. But
Yes.
and I'll probably cut it out when I archive this. But for those of you that are seeing it for a little while here, you get to enjoy our nice discussion on real life.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I thought I muted that. Oh, it's been a week of weird stuff like that, and I'm just forgetting shit. Oh my god.
I'll just slap you later.
It's fine. Oh, God. Anyway, hi. Discussing Tabletop. We're getting started. It's October 24th, 2020. It is episode 164, if anybody pays attention and cares at this point in time with the episode number we're on. We had our real-life discussion already about what's going on, so I mean, like, you know...
Yes.
Oh... It's a weird day. But for those of you who are joining us now, I have a very interesting docket of stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about Secret Lair Extra Life, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, the good is for charity.
I mean, it's much better than the average thing that I would say, especially when it comes to Secret Lairs. That's what we're going to stay at with that one there. The Dragonlance creators are suing wizards. Apparently. There's a Darkest Dungeon board game up on Kickstarter, which, as a big fan of the video game, I wanted to talk about it rather than our normal Kickstarter corner where we're basically going over it, kind of hitting in the how to recreate such an interesting board game, or video game in board game format. Lord of the Rings has an anniversary edition of their board game that came out at the beginning of the 2000s. There's the Paleo board game. To keep going on our Stone Age discussion, as we were having with Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers, and then same company too, which is the strange thing is they're putting out like the Hunters and Gatherers Carcassonne, republishing it and putting out Paleo, and then Warp's Edge the board game. So a bunch of board games, a little bit of Magic, a little bit of D&D. That's today's schedule. So I mean, I guess the big thing here is to start with the Extra Life 2020. So. Secret Lair. It's Magic the Gathering. It's another Secret Lair, and it hits or miss on Secret Lairs. The thing is, it's for charity. Now, there is some... There is a little bit of, like, iffiness about it, because it's technically a $60 Secret Lair, and most of them vary in prices. And some people will say, like, oh, there's some that are like $30, there's some that are $50, there's some that are a lot more. This is $60, and half of it's going directly to Extra Life. So, even if Wizards is not going for 100% profit, that's the thing, is if they're going for 100% profit, it's technically not a tax write-off, I don't think. I think you have to be perfectly, or mostly non-profit if you want to tax write-off it. As I am... vaguely aware.
I don't know. They might be able to write off the half of it.
They might be able to write off half of it. But I know for, like, big things that people do tax off, they do direct charities. Like, this is technically... And, like, again, like, I think... I heard someone argue that, like, if you really want to give to charity, you can just actually donate directly to the Extra Life if you really want to. You know, if you want to avoid that. Now, honestly speaking, to talk about like what they're providing in this thing, I know Consecrate Sphinx is a card that I've used in a lot of decks. It's one of the ones. Let me throw that up here on our browser image here because they don't have a great thing for showing off stuff here.
Teferi's protection is... I mean, it's an instant, but it is powerful.
The thing is, what I've heard is all of these cards are staples in multiple formats. So that's the thing about it. Instantaneously, if you say, they are staples in multiple formats. When you say that, it effectively says to you, these are good cards. And if you think about that, it's 4 good cards, the Collected Company, The Amulet of Vigor, which the Amulet of Vigor has so many potentials. Permanent enters the battlefield tapped, under control, untap it. I mean, if you think about that, like, it's for 1 mana to put that out. There's so many lands that, like, are, like, dual lands that come into play tapped.
Yeah. Or if your opponent has something that taps your creatures when they come into play.
Yeah, you correct it. The Amulet of Vigor is great. They're all very good cards. And that's the thing about them. It's like the... You also think about this, like, yes, you're spending $60 to get 4 very good cards, which probably, depending on the version you're getting of them, might be more expensive. That's the thing about it. Like, I think foils for all of these are more expensive than the price, definitely, for the $60. Even if you consider it like it's the $30 and you're giving $30 to charity, you're still getting you're definitely getting a good deal there if you think that way.
Yeah.
Now, again, like, apparently there has been talk that the secret layers, the foils, they're not great foiling. So you have to worry about, like, definitely sleeving these cards to help, keep them from curling and actually be able to use them in decks. So, I mean, that's a problem. So it's like, there's a lot of hit and miss in this entire thing. Could you use them in your decks? Probably. Might there be issues? Maybe because of the foil curving, that's definitely an issue. Are they very good
when
cards?
you look at it, it's $15 a card. 3 of them are rare. 1 of them's mythic.
Yeah. And all of them, again, have a higher value than you'd think because they're played in a lot of things. Like, I think, like, Consecrated Sphinx is expensive. I have a few of them. I should have bought more back in the day because they were so cool. It's whenever an opponent draws a card, you can draw 2. That's really good. I was going to put that in so many of my blue-based decks. I only have, like, 3 of them because I got a lot of cards back in, I think that was one of the Scars of Mirrodin sets. And that's when I got back into Magic, and I got a couple of boxes of that back in the day, getting back into Magic,
Right.
So I got a couple of them. Like 2 or 3, as I said. But now, I mean, like, they're really expensive, is the problem. Because you just look at it, it's really good. I mean, the artwork's nice. It's that entire idea of, like, because it's Extra Life and that's for, like, children and stuff, there's, like, the idea of children and family and all the art, and that's really cool. They definitely have very good, custom art for it.
Okay, it was Mirrodin, and they also brought it up back in Iconic Masters.
Iconic Masters is where they reprinted it. Okay, I thought they reprinted it somewhere. I couldn't remember where. Because the Scars of Mirrodin's where I got them. Where I got the ones I got. As I said, I got like 2 boxes of Scars and, managed to get a couple of them. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3. But I remember it was in some other set. I mean, again, it's this weird...
And you're looking for a normal one, minimum $20.
There you go.
So you're actually making money on that one, definitely.
It's this weird...
For a foil one, it's normally around $60.
See, that's the problem, is, like, it's this weird juxtaposition of, like, this is both good and bad, It's like the secret layers have always kind of been in this weird nebulous thing, especially, like, I wanted to bring this up just because we talked about the Walking Dead one and how awful that one is. And then they're throwing this one out here.
This one's a lot better, especially considering it's for charity.
Yeah. Now, there are still issues with this entire thing is, secret layers aren't printed. That's one of the big things about them. They sell them way before the printing, so it's going to be months before you can get them. I've heard I've heard talk of, like, on the Twitterverse about issues with trying, if you have problems, it's past when you can, like, get refunds and stuff. That's the problem with it, and it's really hard to reach people on Wizards. So it's like there is a level in all of these of risk, I think, but, like, this is one that's actually relatively good cards, relatively good charity, and if you're giving $30 to charity, you're really only spending $30 on, theoretically, 4 really good cards that you theoretically can play with, and even if you're not going to, like, tournaments with them, you can probably play with friends, even if you get some curling. That's the good thing. Sleeve them up and, squish them in your deck and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's the entire thing of like this up and down of Wizards that I don't know. At least on the Magic side, I've been like halfway disappointed in some ways, but also like slightly happy. I just don't know where to go with it. You know?
Like I said, I don't mind when they do things like that for charity.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Like the last one with The Walking Dead, it's like, okay, you're making them also legal cards, and that means only people who buy this one is going to be able to have these cards. They're never going to get reprinted.
Yep.
And yeah, that's kind of shady. This, I think, is fine. They're reprints.
Oh yeah. These are the type of secret layers that I was never against, you know, because they're special promos almost, you know. They're reprints of cards. It's got different art. It's got different quotes. You know, this one definitely has a theme because it's got that entire, like, you know, children kind of theme because of Extra Life. They're all really good cards. You know, this is what people wanted, and this is charity, you know? It's the problem that, like, you know, the Walking Dead one has, you know, jaded me to a lot of these. I think that's the problem, is as soon as I saw that one, where it's this, where, as you said, it's legal, and you can only get them there. They'll probably never be reprinted again, because they are both AMC and Wizards. All these cards are just Wizards. They could reprint them 1 billion times. The AMC one, they'd have to renegotiate the deal to reprint them. That, or they'd have to literally create a separate card, which maybe they'll be smart enough and do, that does the exact same thing in their own things, but then they have to also change the language on them because they can't use the same terms. So then it's not really the same card, kind of is. Because then, if they're not really the same card, technically speaking, you know, because they use the term, like, you know, Walker for Walking Dead, they would have to use Zombie. That would mean it's not the same card. Therefore, I could have 4 of each in my deck, even if it's theoretically the same thing. It's a problem.
Right.
We've talked about it before, the entire Walking Dead Magic thing and how bad it is. And again, like, it's a good thing, but I'm so jaded by Wizards. It's just so... Some of their decisions this year have been awful. I don't know. Okay. As much as I would like to complain more, we probably should just move on. I mean, it's other problems with Wizards. Maybe that's a good idea. You know? So, apparently, Wizards is getting sued by the creators of Dragonlance for $30 million. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so...
Most likely, it'll end up being settled under court, because Hasbro has a crap ton of money, and will probably just go like, here, we'll offer you what X amount of money to just drop it.
Well, the thing about this is it's over the rights of the classic D&D franchise. So... It's Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman had a licensing deal with Wizards that allowed them to write a new trilogy of Dragonlance novels, which were published through Penguin House. So Wizards for Eternity have alleged that they had already finished the first books. That after they'd finished the first draft of the first book, Wizards would no longer approve any current or future drafts. So effectively, they got the first book and then kind of canceled the others and said that we have the rights to Dragonlance. So the entire idea is there was a breach of contract, breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealings, and torturous inference with contract. I don't know a lot. I understand 2 of these things.
Don't torture them. That's not polite.
Tortious inference with contract. I don't understand what that one is. That's legalese for something bad. Okay. The thing is that the lawsuit speculates that the contract would have been worth $10 million to Weiss and Hickman. Yeah. So the thing is, yeah, they're kind of inferencing that Dragonlance is one of the big staples of Dungeons and Dragons, at least back in the TSR days. And certainly it was. Dragonlance was big. And I think of all the D&D books that were out, Dragonlance books are the ones that people still talk about, because those are the ones most people read and knew about. You know, just trying to understand this, that it's what, like, a Wizards apparently in 2017 came back to these people. They've done other books since about doing more Dragonlance. You know, they kind of were like, these two were kind of the establishments, because I think if the Dragonlance Chronicles books, there's the they were. Let me just try to throw a picture up here of one of them, kinda here. Were one of the big staples of the Dragonlance series. So it's sort of like, what's the frick is his name? The guy who does all the Forgotten Realms stuff and invented like Dritz and all that crap. R.L. Salvadori. R.L. Salvador. Right. Yeah, R.L. Salvador. Yeah, R.L. Salvador is arguably the guy that invented like a crap ton of Forgotten Realms, because he developed a lot of that details with his series of books on Dritz. He isn't the only one, but he's like a core aspect of that franchise. And these two people are kind of the same when it comes to Dragonlance. So they allege that they reached a writing agreement with Wizards in March of 2019, delivered a manuscript of the first books, Dragons of Deceit, the following November. Which was approved of it last January. Already started talking about the foreign translation rights and the next books of the trilogy. Then August, everything fell apart. So yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but this is obviously something that happened along the way. You know, the thing I'm thinking about here that could be the issue is that you have to think about what was going on in Wizards as a company overall, not just in the D&D quarters. Remember, there was a problem with the Magic the Gathering novels. They fell apart because they had that one that was a complete stinker that everybody hated.
Oh, yeah.
That could have changed things on how Wizards was looking on novels right then and there for all of their stuff. Because again, like, they haven't really been putting out D&D novels either. That was something that back in the TSR days more than anything, and I don't know how much Wizards have put them out at all. You know, if they have, yeah, I don't know. So they definitely could have been taking a step back, and that could have become kind of caused some of these issues. So there's a lot more details to this entire thing, but it's basically a litigation against Wizards, led by those two. And again, like, it's the question of a lot of, like, parts of the rights and stuff, too. Because, again, like, these two people developed a lot of stuff with TSR back in the day. But then TSR... there was 190 Dragonlance novels and anthologies, 31 which were written or edited by Weiss and Hickman. So that's a big chunk of them. Apparently, the main line was between 84 and 2007. So Wizards took it over in 97, and Hasbro took that over in 99. So there was 10 years of time where there were still novels coming out under Wizards. And there's like a revival, I guess. You know, it seemed like the Magic novels were coming out for a while. It's a tough thing to kind of look into, like, litigations here.
Oh yeah, unless you speak legalese very well.
This is interesting, but it's like, well, what the fuck does all this mean? What does this mean for Dragonlance? What, that was one of the settings that I heard rumors of revival on. Does this mean that we're not going to see that? Because we've seen Greyhawk's sort of revival. We've seen Eberron. That was one that was definitely going to come back. And we've seen Forgotten Realms come back with 5th edition. I mean, the Greyhawk stuff has been kind of mild. They haven't had a full, I think, bring back yet.
All right.
I don't know. Greyhawk? 5e? They got some anything for 5e. I gotta look this up here and see what they're. No. 2008 to present. Oh, Ghosts of Saltmarsh is Greyhawk, so they did bring it back in the book Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I didn't even think about that. Saltmarsh is a location in Greyhawk, so technically speaking, they have brought it back, even though it was in that singular book. It was the adventure module that they came out with, which I think was another one of their anthologies, but it was anthologies of Greyhawk adventures.
Right.
Okay. I mean, in Greyhawk, it does appear a little bit in 5th edition book, too. So, I mean, they've referenced it. So, anyway, that's that. So, yeah. Wizards, problems. A lot of them. We should move on. I mean, I could talk more about Wizards' problems. No. It's probably not for the best. We don't need to complain too much about them too much. They're not Steve Jackson games. Wait. Sick burn. All right. Here's one. Now, Joe, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to play Darkest Dungeon. Have you?
No.
Okay. You did XCOM 2, right?
Yes.
I've done
parts of it.
Yeah, I describe this one as it's got some similarities in the way that it's a very RNG, turn-based kind of thing, where your characters are going to die. This one's though it's more like medieval fantasy, Cthulhuian horror kind of thing. That is.
Yeah.
So it's a cooperative dungeon crawler for 1 to 4 players. You accept a mission, dispatch eminent threats, help restore the heir's mansion to his former glory. I mean, again, it feels a lot like the way they're recreating this is maybe a little bit like the D&D board games, where they're very mission-based and stuff like that. I'm just curious as if it's got, a set number of missions, or if it has, a randomized element to the missions. I guess, let's give an example of the Curse of Strahd board game. Certainly speaking, you can go fight Strahd and it'll have a random element of the map you're doing, That's for sure. Maybe that's kind of what monsters you fight along the way. That might be how it is. I'm curious a little bit more. Let's see here. So the thing is, it's got 72 miniatures, 8 hero miniatures, 64 monster miniatures, so it's a good selection of different monsters and stuff. And they are, and then encounter cards, so things are fight. And then they got the miniatures to go with it. They got a lot of, the creatures and stuff from the game, which is really cool. They have, a huge selection of those. 32 dice with 8 exploration, 16 provisions, 4 death store, 4 d10s. 12 double-sided room tiles, 16 hero boards, 4 skill boards, 1 Hamlet board, the 3 main dashboards, 10 dungeon cards, and then the 400-plus cards of tarot cards, poker cards, miniatures cards, and apparently miniature Euro cards for various types. I guess they're the sizes.
Yeah.
So the tarot cards are for like things like monsters, quests, bosses. The poker size cards, which are your standard size cards, are for like curios, hamlets, events, rooms, and then 1 billion tokens. It's a lot of stuff for a game.
I mean, they're not, fully painted, but they're detailed tokens.
Now the thing is, it's $100 for it, which for freaking that number of miniatures, I'm not going to complain about $100.
No,
that's the price range for that level of miniature. Even unpainted miniatures make things so much more expensive. That's definitely something I'm going to say. Like, that's the core box. All the core box unlocks stretch goals and a free musketeer miniature. Ooh. They do have a Crimson Court expansion they're working on, because the Crimson Court was one of their big expansions for the game. And that for 150 you get that expansion, which includes 36 more monster miniatures, a lot of more cards, more room tiles, and another rule book to go with it. The Crimson Court was interesting because it was like vampires, but they were also supposed to be like insectile, so they're like all mosquitoes and leeches and stuff, So that was why it was kind of like weird and gross and stuff. So, like, the core box things is, like, more heroes that they would be unlocking, more monsters and bosses, more room tiles, same things for Crimson Court as they unlock them. They have reached, because this is still up on Kickstarter right now, wow. They have reached nearly 2 million out of a 300,000 goal.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. And they still have 13 days to go. They have over 14,000 backers.
So they certainly have hit a lot of those, stretch goals. I don't even know if they have more stretch goals at this point in time. It looks as though they do have some optional buy-ons, which are for specific... like, one of them was they did have an optional buy-on of, like, the Cove, which is, like, a specific location in the game, with more specific creatures to that, and a couple more heroes and stuff. The scale's pretty cool. I don't know if there's anything else.
And they only have 2 pledge levels. They have the $100 one,
the 150, and then I think
150, and there's a $1 one just to
be like, I'm supporting it. And then I think the other thing is that they have like the Cove expansion. So for $200, you get their full.
I'm not seeing that one available.
It's optional buys down to the buy, and then it's got the buy-ons.
Okay.
Because like you can, like, I don't even know why you would do it separately, because it makes no sense. But apparently, like, I guess if the reason why for the optional buys is normally like, let's say you wanted additional, like, because they have money for additional core boxes and additional Crimson Court. So if you wanted to buy them, you could add them as add-ons. That's what it means.
Right.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to understand what it is. It's like for an extra $100, you can add additional core box, and for like $55, you could add the Crimson Court. So you save $5 for getting it as part of the pledge. It's just like the core rule box. They were going to sell additional ones at 115, but apparently they marked it down to 100. So yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a lot of miniatures and stuff for it, and it's a it's the odd thing of saying, like, this is one of those games that I really liked a lot, and I played through. I think I beat it. I can't remember. I was pretty good at it. I didn't lose a whole lot of characters. But I'd watched people play through it a lot, and seen a lot of things. So I wasn't starting from scratch, I hadn't played it myself, but I at least had, like, a little bit of knowledge ahead of time for certain things.
Right.
And that helped me a lot. Yeah. Like, I look at it, and, like, no, there is a, 1,940,000 something rather. I don't know. They have, like, so many unlocked shits, Um, I think they just keep unlocking more stuff is the problem. It's just insane. Damn. It's just crazy the amount of unlocks they've had. Jesus. It's such a crazy number. But I can understand why. It's been an intensely popular game. And, like, again, like, I can see it working fairly well. Like, if you're recreating, like, the D&D tile exploration games, that fits very well with this kind of gameplay, you know? Of, like, your heroes going in and just facing horrible things and possibly going on multiple missions, which could result in your untimely death, madness, or horrible diseases overcoming your body until you fall and crumple into dust. It's a thing.
I hate when I suffer from horrible disease and crumple into dust.
I mean, you get that melee character rabies, and technically speaking, it reduces his accuracy but increases his strength by a great deal. So then, it's like, he's rabid, it's okay. he hits like a truck. You just give him some bit of like bonus like items to give him bonus accuracy, and then you don't worry about it. You know, hey, he hits like a truck, it'll be fine. He's rabid, it's okay.
It's just a little rabies. You're still good.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be surprised. Like, I'm interested to see how well, because not only do they have, like, death for characters, but some of the interesting mechanics they had was, like, at when you hit death, you don't necessarily die. You go to death's door. And then anything that hits you can possibly kill you at that point in time. But then you can have, like, kind of saves against death's door and kind of maintain yourself at that level. So I'm guessing what's the death's door rules for. But then they also have, like, a madness level that you, like, slowly, like, gain... like, lose your sanity, and the thing is, or like a stress level, and your stress can give you heart attacks, which reduce your hit points automatically to 0 in death's door, you know, and also can cause your characters to either break or get resolve, more oftentimes break, and I'm interested to see how they factor in a bunch of this stuff. You know, I can recall a mission I had where only one person survived and the other 3 died. No, a second one might have lived, and it was basically the one guy was just drug everybody else kicking and screaming through the remainder of the mission, you know. It was the one dude that was killing everything and fighting his way for victory. It was epic and fun. You know, and like, it's like, no, we won't fail, we won't die. Yeah. So it's 1 to 4 players, 90 minutes, they're saying. I don't know if they have a rule book up here, which I'd be very curious about. I know some games have copies of rule books. Let me just look through here quickly. I don't see a rule book. They do have like, quirk, stress, disease. It looks like they do have things like that, which is good. Trinkets, provisional dice, dungeon building. Oh, they do have a rule book in English. Cool. Excellent.
English.
It's a bunch of pages that I could go through. Lots and lots of pages. Okay, so it seems like they, you know... page 17. They have 17 pages? Oh, no, they have more than that. They've got, like, 20-some pages. Okay, it's exactly what you think for a miniatures book. It's 1 billion pages.
1,000,000,001.
24 pages. But, yeah. So, yeah. I wanted to hit up on this one because I really like Darkest Dungeon. I enjoyed playing through it. I probably will play through the second one when it comes out because they have now announced the early access of that coming out finally next year. I might not play it in the early access. I might wait till the full release. I played the original on the full release. But, you know.
It's interesting.
Oh yeah, no. If you liked XCOM 2, it's a different kind of setting, but it's that kind of same feel of like trying to get your characters through tough missions and have them survive against odds which are oftentimes stacked against them, and it's the same kind of thing. It's definitely like one that I would recommend. It's that's the kind of feeling it picks up on. You know, you have to worry about goddamn RNG screwing you, and then it's just fighting through. You know, unlike XCOM, where it's a mission where you might have multiple encounters with like enemy aliens around the place. It's a dungeon that you're exploring to try to like get a mission done, and you might have multiple encounters with monsters various places.
Right.
Horrible monsters which can drive you insane or like tear your flesh from your skin. Anyway, Darkest
I
Dungeon.
hate when my flesh gets torn from my skin.
It's one that I definitely wanted to give much more than your average Kickstarter shout out that we do on, because again, big fan of it. 12 days to go for that one. Recommend folks check it out if you're a big fan of the game. Definitely speaking. Let's move on though. We got a couple more to talk about. Lord of the Rings. Apparently the original version of this game came out in like 2000. I think that was also Fantasy Flight back in 2000 came out with the Lord of the Rings board game, and this is their anniversary edition of it, which they're putting out, well, I guess it is 20 years later. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but I'm like, is it, anniversary edition? I'm like, oh, that's neat. And then I'm like, it's like, oh, wait, yeah, 20 years. It totally has been that long. Damn, I'm old.
Yeah, we're both old.
I think we were both still in high school back in 2000.
That would have been my senior year.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Yeah. So, it's not based on the movies. It's more based on the books. Definitely speaking, the artwork style reminds me of like what's on the covers of the books, or what they tried for in the 70s, or was it 60s animated series?
Oh, God. I think it was 70s.
Yeah. Which the 70s animated series of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit were actually pretty damn good. They were simplistic, and they had their own problems for being like short animated series, but were like they weren't series. They were movies, animated movies, but they were actually pretty decent and total decent job. You know, they were something that I would recommend checking out at some point in time. They're not as epic as, of course, you know, Peter Jackson's freaking tellings of what it is. He brought the modern America cinema to, like, you know, life with that kind of thing. But they're pretty good. Yeah. They have the same kind of miniatures that they have. They've kind of recreated their miniatures, I guess, bigger, better kind of things. It's a definitive edition of it. It's a cooperative board game. It's for 1 to 4 players that plays through the entire trilogy. So it is all 3 adventures that you can kind of do. It recreates all the locations you do. For kind of all the quest lines of kind of getting rid of the One Ring. So there's a lot to it, and I've never played the original, so I mean,
surprisingly, it's only 60 to 90 minutes though.
I'm guessing what it is for 60 to 90 minutes is like you play each scenario in that period of time, you know.
Yeah.
That's all I can guess. They don't have the rule book here.
No, but I'm looking at the old verse new.
Yeah.
The miniature upgrade is because like before it was just standees.
Yeah.
Now they're actual miniatures. The ring is not cardboard either.
Yeah. I can see that. Like, the dice get an upgrade. The
cards even got an upgrade, I think.
Yeah. I'm guessing, like, because if you look at this board game, it's a relatively simple board game, and I don't know, like, it might just go through all the things in that time period. Because, again, like,
yeah, it might just be the big events.
Yeah, we're almost thinking for a little bit, you know, on the line of, oh, hey, you know, epic miniatures board games. like we just talked about, like the Curse of Strahd and the new Darkest Dungeon game, how like you play through multiple scenarios and like
They do have the rules at the bottom.
You can build a story for. Okay, they got to copy the rules here.
Lord of the Rings, the board game rulebook, and Battlefield's expansion rulebook.
For the original or for the new edition?
For the new.
Okay, I freaking looking at the website and I'm not seeing.
Which has the components. Let's see. You get one master game board, 2 double-sided conflict game boards, 60 quest cards, 35 legendary cards, 5 Gandalf cards, 23 story tiles, 5 Hobbit cards, 5 Hobbit markers.
Because I can find the rule book and the Battlefield's expansions from January 2015.
Oh, maybe it's... Oh, yeah, these are from 2015 then.
I'm guessing the rules are effectively the same.
The rules probably haven't changed.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fact is, like, they're saying it's really just an anniversary edition. It's like they're taking their...
They just upgraded some of the components.
I mean, which is fine. It's a board game that's been out for 20 years, and they're putting out a new version of it. Even if they've had multiple printings, like, getting a facelift isn't a bad thing. And, you know, like, you have to have multiple printings of something, too. And they change. Like, it's like there's so many board games that have been out for, like, a while now. Things like, you know, Carcassonne and like Settlers of Catan that have been out for like a couple of decades also, they get facelifts. So I'm not against the entire facelift kind of thing, you know. They're putting actual miniatures in it.
It's for an anniversary edition. It's like, hey, we want to recognize this game was cool, we want to re-release it, and we're going to upgrade it.
And the idea that they got like actual like, you know, tokens now is really awesome. You know,
tokens.
Ha 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 ha.
I had to go for that. Come on.
No. I'm just gonna keep going right now. Ha 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 ha. There we go.
Come on, okay. You gotta admit that was perfect.
It was a thing that you did. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they didn't have a huge lot of like tokens and stuff to it in the first one anyway. And it was a lot of card-based stuff, probably.
Well, it did have tokens, but they were just the cardboard standees.
Yeah, but I'm saying they didn't have a huge amount of them. Yeah. I mean, the anniversary edition's going for $50, which isn't a bad price anyway. You know,
I think it was $6 because it came with 6 plastic bases.
So 6 originally it was 6 little standees that you'd use, and now they have 6 miniatures.
Yeah, because it's 5 Hobbit markers and 1 Sauron marker.
Sauron marker is now the Black Rider, which is really cool. Yep. And the Hobbit markers are...
the ring got an upgrade, because it used to be a cardboard thing that you sat the character who had the ring on.
Yeah.
And now it's actually, you set the miniature in it.
Yeah, it's like a base or something that you kind of like put it on top of. And like, I guess like, okay, yeah, every player gets like a Hobbit marker, which is just like a little like Hobbit figure with a walking stick or something. But still, that's not bad. And even the dice got a little bit of update. It's got like the kind of rounded corners, which makes it a little bit more stylized.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did. They kind of added they added a nice coat of paint on it. They kind of updated it. They made it a little bit more like what people kind of expect for modern day games. Like, standees are nice, but the thing is, like, back in 2000, we would have passed off standees as the standard way of doing things in board games.
Oh, yeah. It's normally, if you got a game that had miniatures in it, you were looking at like $100 plus.
They took 2 forms too. Like if you look for a cheaper one, they took 2 forms: cardboard standees, those are your miniatures, or like settlers. They're just
meeples.
Yeah, they're just like, or Carcassonne or / settlers. They were just like meeples. They were like simple wooden pieces that really didn't have any details. They were just chunks of painted wood.
Well, I mean, now that you have 3D printing and everything else, it's like it's kind of easy to make these things now.
Well, if you
it's
think
not
about
just injection.
Think about original settlers. They're just like little pieces of wood and like simple shapes that they wouldn't be difficult to make at all. You know, they're just chunks of crap. They're neat. We remember them, but they are not. They are not detailed. Not
Everyone loves the meeple.
No. I mean,
you like your meeples?
I'm fine with them. I never had a problem with meeples. They were just like, it was a weird name for it, and I forget where the frick the term meeple came from.
I have no idea. I'm sure someone coined it.
Meeple origin of term. Oh, it's from Carcassonne because that's where they originally were from, and it was from one of the people that created it.
Yeah, I just
it's supposed to be.
It was like,
my people. Oh no, it was Allison Hansel did it during a game of Carcassonne with my people, so it's Meeple. I don't know who Allison Hansel is. Let's look that up. If that's someone related to Carcassonne or if it's just some person. But now we know.
and there's lots of meeples.
I guess there's just some person that was maybe like working along with who knew the creators or something like that. Huh. Interesting. So, yup. Oh. Huh. So, yeah.
Apparently, animal-shaped meeples are animeeples.
I'm just going to give you this face for animeeples.
I didn't come up with it.
I
and
know.
There's veggie meeples.
It's going to keep giving you this face. It's going to keep giving it. But regardless, now that we've moved beyond meeples.
Because you're a veggie meeple.
We've moved beyond meeples. Let's go back to Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Meeples.
I mean, that could be a game, too. Ugh. I mean,
people to control them all.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's awesome. Fantasy Flight's given us this. We got an anniversary edition, updated with stuff. If you never played the board game, it looks neat. I mean, like, it's a... Again, like, it's a... As you said, it's like a hour and a half gameplay, give or take, of playing through Lord of the Rings in a relatively simplified form that you can have the adventure all together. So, I mean, like... Again, like, it's weird because if you recall, like, I ended up getting as a gift one year from my parents a random, like, Hobbit game, which
which was actually pretty good.
It was fun. And the thing is, when we looked at it, we're like, this looks like just like a movie tie-in game, and like they actually had a decent game related to it. It was like, wow, unexpected. Sometimes you can get unexpected good games in places, and I mean, like, not to bust this one as looking not unexpectedly good, but like, I'm just saying, like, a simplified game is not necessarily bad. You don't need something ridiculous, complex, and filled with giant numbers of miniatures. That's what I was trying to say. I was defending the game, technically, and its existence. Shall we move on?
Sure.
Let's talk. Oh, hey, that actually popped up pretty decently. I didn't have to change that. Paleo! Z-Man Games is apparently bringing us yet another Mesozoic thing. After that, they're doing the reprint of Carcassonne Hunters Gatherers. They're bringing us Paleo. It's a prehistoric cooperative adventure. It's Stone Age. Your tribe is fighting for survival. You got artistic masterpieces that will cultivate generations to come. And there's animals, storms, and hostile tribes around that are trying to go after you. So, yeah. You're a bunch of people that have fierce warriors, clever inventors, watchful scouts, and work together. That you're trying to make a cave painting during that time, apparently. Surviving while making it. I'm guessing, like, it's a time-constrained game from the way that they've been describing it. I'm going to see if they have a copy of the rules up here. The answer...
Do they describe their diet?
No. They have rules, and apparently a rules supplement. 12 pages of rules.
I had to make the bad paleo diet joke.
It was highly acceptable. So the game is out for pre-order now, so it isn't fully out yet. It's kind of been announced. It's for 2 to 4 players. They say 45 to 60 minutes. It comes with it's priced at $60. But it does come with 40 wooden tokens, 98 cardboard tokens, 3 boards, a graveyard, a workbench, 2 dice, a rule book, a supplement, and 222 cards. You can have 220 or 200. No, it has to be 222.
Hey, those 2 make the difference, man.
Apparently.
One of them is you win the game card.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be just like the... Oh, by the way, you win the game. So yeah, the objects to complete a cave painting. Each player begins with a couple of humans who map skill and number of life points. You send them out to explore. You find food, crafting materials, stuff to help you with the mission. But there's stuff that can totally murder you. And at the end of the day, you'll need enough food and resources to keep your people alive, and also to complete more of your masterpieces. And you have to complete 5 victory tokens and add them to your cave painting. Everybody wins the game. It includes 10 unique modules to vary the people, locations, and quests you'll encounter on your co-op adventure. So that's good. With basically 10 setups, that's a lot of varying gameplay.
Yeah.
And you can mix and match the different kind of like sets of them to change it too, which is also a cool thing. That I can play with, like, you know, I have 10 different setups, but I can also combine these setups, meaning that you have not infinite replayability technically speaking, but enough replayability that you're not gonna
pretty
notice.
Infinite replayability, considering also the likelihood of getting the same cards in the same setup.
Yeah, it with the 10 different modules that you can kind of mix and match, it definitely increase it. And there is a solo mode too, which, I mean, like, I never play board games in solo mode, but I like that they exist. You know, it's a way that if I wanted to do a board game on my own, I could.
Yeah, I never do, because it doesn't seem that much fun.
It's this weird thing of having a solo play board. It's like playing solitaire.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do like playing solitaire, but it's rare nowadays. Like, I used to play, like, solitaire on the computer a lot more. Nowadays, I don't do it. You know?
I mean, I play solitaire on my phone now and then, but... yeah.
I have much better choices now, and I think that's the thing, is, like... I'd always have a show to watch on the DVR, or something to watch on the computer, or something like that, or something to work on that. I don't usually have a lot of time to sit down and be like, solo board game.
Yeah.
Not without a good reason. Like, I guess if we were, like, if it was a solo board game, that would be, like, a review thing for one of our shows or something, you know, I'd give you that would be a good reason to do it. But, yeah... But no, Paleo is an interesting looking game. It fits with the kind of, do I want to say, like, theme that Come On Games or Z-Man Games is going for these past couple of weeks. Are they really going for this theme, or is it just happenstance that they are? I don't know, but that's what kind of, like, attracted me to talking about it, is it seemed like they were going for a theme. Theoretically. So...
Beam it up a notch. Oh, yeah.
Oh, the victory tokens are pieces of the cave painting, so that's why you get all of them. Now that I'm looking at them.
Yes.
So, like, when you have them, you complete a cave painting of what looks like a mammoth or something. Neat.
Very beautiful.
Cool. Alright!
Ooh, you can beat up a dodo bird.
Can you?
One of the cards is a dodo.
Oh. Let's beat up a dodo. Fuck you, dodo. You're not extinct enough yet.
What game was that? God, that we can never. We couldn't get it to work because Epic. So, Arc.
Arc, because they never set it up that you could do that between crossplay.
Steam and yeah.
There theoretically were seemingly ways to do crossplay. They just were not good.
Easy. They might have updated it at some point. I haven't checked, but I uninstalled it for a while because I'm like, it's a large install.
It is a hell of a large install, and I have to say, honestly speaking, they have a lot of updates too. That's the one that they have, like, I keep getting, like, there's like, oh, there's another update to Arc. Okay, great. You know.
Well, speaking of updates, Civ 6 got an update.
It did. What were they adding in? I forget. They were adding in something. I tried out their, on a side note, definitely side note, I tried out their randomizing culture and science kind of list. It was interesting. Tested them.
New Pirates multiplayer scenario.
Oh, that's right. It was the pirate multiplayer scenario. I remember hearing about that one. It's an interesting one. They've been coming out with a bunch of interesting ones. So, I mean, Civ 6 has been like growing a lot of their stuff there. I don't mind particularly. I would like more opportunities to play at some point in time. It's on my list.
Yeah.
Grab a bunch of people, have a good time, play some Civ 6.
Hey, stop grabbing people.
No. They're mine now. I've stolen them.
What about grab a bunch of meeple?
No, because then I'd be playing Carcassonne.
Or any game with meeples.
Carcassonne.
What about Cantan?
They don't have...
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, the robber's a meeple. Kinda.
Kinda. It's more like a pawn more than anything, and that's always what it's felt like.
Fine, ruin my joke.
I will totally ruin your joke. It is my special skill.
I'm gonna set a dodo after you to beat you up.
They don't have that ability. They die instantaneously.
No,
even like a level like 200 dodo in Ark, you just like punch it to death, and you're like, well, that took a while, a lot longer than I wanted to, but you know, it's dead. Great.
No. What happens is while you're beating up the level 200 dodo, a level 5 raptor comes up behind you and eats you.
I mean, that is an accuracy that happens in that. Freaking raptors, or Dilophosauruses, or T-Rex shows up and just eats you. But T-Rexes just do that anyway. Let's talk about Warp's Edge. Do I have to fuck around with this image?
Oh no, my warp got edged.
He's not a merry man.
No, I didn't say warp. I said my warp.
Yeah, you said your wharf.
No. I'm gonna have Worf slap you.
He wouldn't do it. He's not a merry man, and that seems like something a merry man would do.
With his bat lip.
Again, not a merry man. You're trying to add too much merriment to the man.
The pointy end. And by slap, I mean stab.
Just stop abusing poor Warp. So Warp's Edge is a solo bag building game of space combat. So that's the thing first about it is a technical solo game. We don't talk about a lot of solo games on this show, so that's why I kind of wanted to feel like bringing a few of them here and there. We talk about games that have solo modes, but that's a different thing. This is specifically a game that's supposed to be played on your own. Pilot one of 4 starfighters, which have unique weapon loadouts, face against 5 alien motherships, its accompanying fleet. Every matchup offers a different challenge. Push yourself towards new strategies and tactics. You have a limited number of warps to succeed. There's some like video games that kind of take on stuff like this.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with the solo board games. It's like I'd rather play probably a video version of this than a board game.
FTL is what comes to mind as like the a little bit of like this kind of game,
right? But I'm just saying that's why like when it's like solo game, it's like make it digital, then I don't have to clean up and set up myself.
Yeah, I mean,
that's more. It's the laziness in me that is like.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I don't know. It hits this point in time where I'm like, I'm both, interested in a solo game because I'm like, that's kind of neat. That's something you can do. But also then it hits up that exactly what you're talking about of like, well, you're on your own then.
And it's $35.
Yeah. It's like you'd have to play it a lot of times on your own to make it good. It's like you're playing it on your own, yes. A bunch.
Yeah, if they had it, that there was a 2-player option.
Yeah.
But making it completely solo just makes me go, meh.
I mean, they have stuff to upgrade it. Like there's the Edge
There's an
Variant
expansion pack for $20.
There's a playmat and there's
For
tokens.
20, and upgraded tokens for 20. The same amount it costs for the expansion. But if you think about that, if you got everything, you'd be spending what, $35, $75, $95 for a solo game?
Yeah. Yeah, $95 for a solo game. At that
point, I could buy like some cool, really good kick-ass video game and have money left over.
No, I can see that as the unfortunate thing. It's that, like, it's trying to be something interesting with being a solo one, but the problem is it is solo, and it's competing with a lot of more solo-based things. That's exactly what you're saying. Like, it's competing with video games. You know, there are certainly things that don't compete with video games, but, like, this one is definitely one that, as soon as you look at it, you're like, yeah, this is competing with video games. Like, board games, it's not as easy to meet up and play video games anymore. There aren't a lot of systems to do that. Systems are more expensive. They don't pick up and play like that. If I'm playing video games with people, it's going to be online. But if I'm meeting up with physically people to hang out, card games and board games are still much more on the agenda. You know, I think that's a lot better. Like, you know, sitting in front of a TV and playing video games or stuff like that just doesn't work as much as it used to.
Well, it's because you have all the other option of we could just play remotely.
Mm-hmm.
With a board game and card games, unless you're doing it through tabletop sim or something, you don't have that ability.
And even then, tabletop sim, like, fills this nebulous area that I don't mind using it, but every time I'm using it, I also feel like, well, it's that nebulous area of, like, because people put stuff on there, and then there's stuff that you're like, did someone put it on there, or did someone just choose to put it on there? Did a company put this on here, or did someone else do it? And it's that weird thing is you never know, because definitely there are plenty of people that we've seen, like, who put out games that have, like, yeah, we put it out in tabletop sim. And then there's some that, you know, don't even talk about it. You know, and so you don't.
And then also, you know, the ones that, you know, aren't put out by the game company itself may disappear.
Yeah.
The game company's like, hey, we didn't approve this, take it down.
Mm-hmm. And even then, like, if they put it out on tabletop sim, they might end it. Now, granted, if you subscribe to something, I don't think it gets rid of it, because I think there's a couple of things that I subscribe to that don't exist anymore on tabletop sim, and I still have them. And I don't know if that's because, like, the company, if it was a company-based thing and they took it down, or, like, you know, if it was something that shouldn't have been, it got, you know, canceled. I don't know. But, you know, there's just a little bit to the entire thing here that it's very nebulous. And, again, like, I don't want to bust on a solo game for existing, but I feel like it's like two-player games. They tend to be harder to play. Because normally when you're getting together with people, it's more than two players, you know? When I'm hanging out with people, I'm not particularly hanging out with, you know, just one person normally.
Yeah. Well, the thing is also, I think for a solo game to really make it viable, you got to be below a certain price point.
Yeah. And this price point...
You can buy a deck of cards and play solitaire for a couple bucks.
Yeah. And the price point here, which is $35, is a bunch. You'd want to be playing it a lot for $35. You know, like a $10, $15 game, I'm a little bit more on. Even a $20 game, I could maybe pass you off if it was like a really cool one. That wouldn't take a lot of time. The question is going to be, how long is this going to take? How many times do I have to play it? If they say 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a solo game, too.
Yeah, I could think of other things I want to do for 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah.
That, you know, other than playing a board game by myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say it's cool. Because it looks neat. And it has a neat idea to, like, the game itself. But it's that problem of being a solo game that makes it a very hard sell. For me. You know, and for you, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just it's definitely I don't know kind of.
I mean, it doesn't
game.
look bad. I'm not bragging on the game. It's just, it's not my thing.
And that's the problem is it's easy to see that. Like, why it wouldn't be your game. So, anyway, Warp's Edge, it's is it out now or is it for pre-order right now?
It's out.
Available now.
Yeah, because like there's only 4 available right now. 3 of the player mats available.
I mean, I can understand trying to get some tabletop experience now during this this time period with the pandemic, and a lot of people aren't traveling and stuff like that. This is the kind of time period that might draw to some of that kind of thing in people's lives. So I can see, like, why it's not a bad time to put out solo things. But still, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if I tried it and it was really, really fun, I could see doing it. It's the kind of game, because of its nature, I'd almost want to, test it. Test it and see. Because that really good nature might be what would sell me on it. Just maybe. So. Shall we continue on our adventures then? I think we're on to our regular segments at that point in time.
Yeah, I don't have a Kickstarter this week.
I just want to give some shout outs to I'll give a shout out to one. There was an RPG, a couple of ones that I did want to give a shout outs to. Just 2 of them because like they interested me, and like one of them it's just variety. One of them is the Excellence RPG is getting another kind of release, and they also have like a princess stuff adding to it. So I mean, like, definitely, I guess they're going for like a little bit of very different things. I don't know a lot about the Excellence RPG. It's about being an excellent princess, apparently, this one at least. So if you want to be an excellent princess, you can go for it.
I'm an excellent princess.
Are you? I don't think so. That one's about half of its goal, 18 days to go. The other one is one that is funded, which is called Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Let me put these both into chat for links. I mean, like, it's an interesting game that, like, they do talk about, like, the kind of standard of games. It's supposed to be more for, like, definitely, like, LGBTQ people, and be, like, a game that kind of, like, goes there. It's Evil Hat Productions, which I'm pretty sure we've seen stuff by Evil Hat before. That seems familiar. So that's why I was like, oh, Evil Hat. I think we've seen stuff from them before. That's why it was kind of, like, interesting. I mean, like, again, they do talk about, like, it's meant for, people. It's meant to show respect to a lot of, the community, the LGBTQ community, and it's meant to be kind of interesting and kind of go along with that kind of. It's got its own kind of setup of things, and up to you if it's your kind of game or not. You can back it. It's funded. It's an RPG, and I'm always up for for more interesting RPGs. Definitely.
Yeah.
So definitely throwing it out there as ones to check out. Not diving deep into either of them, but definitely out there, you folks, check them out. They might be an RPG for you. Maybe not, but that's the way RPGs work. As Lightning is winking in chat. Lightning is lightning.
Indeed.
I guess we move on to our other regular segments as I will redock at chat here. Our Week in Tabletop. You want to handle us first with grinding gears?
Yes, we had our second to last episode last Sunday, which a lot was uncovered.
A lot happened. Mm-hmm.
They talked to the mistress.
Oh, yeah.
She made them some offers.
I feel very refusey on those offers, but not like,
yes,
you know, but for different reasons.
You found out that Swift is basically in a coma.
That was weird.
I'm
gonna say, out of all the things that came up, that was the weirdest one, and it was just a really weird one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Also, you found out the wizard that you guys have been hating on so much this game.
Oh, God, yeah. There's the third part of Fedor.
Yeah, it turns out Fedor was actually split into 3.
Oh, yeah.
And the wizard is his complete magical part.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, it's like something of like, oh, God, that it's stupid and yet makes sense to a degree. Also, this guy, we hate him.
Oh, yeah. Well, what happened was when he got split, he kind of lost his mind.
Yeah, we noticed that.
And ran away and couldn't recall what happened. He just had a strong feeling that he needed to stay around until Fedor came back.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing of the dynamic of it. I mean, it has a lot of what makes sense to it. It has interesting dynamics, but it's also a little bit that crazy of like, God damn you, wizard! Wizard! And we shake our fist at him then, you know.
Who knew thwirls were the answer?
The end of the world as we twirl it, and I feel fine. I didn't have Pathfinder 2nd edition. That was canceled this week.
We finished up Star Trek.
We did finish up Star Trek. That was good. We had some space combat. That was the previous week. We landed on the planet. We resolved things in a okay way.
We diplomatized it.
We diplomatized it. We didn't have to resort to violence or murder, which was good and very Star Trek-y. We were ready in case we needed to.
Yes.
But, like, you know, apparently, like, lightning on random rolls of chance got, like, these super combinations. So, like, 3 seconds into what would have been our combat, the thing that was going to be eventually activated. And so it was like, well, that resolves everything.
It's like, oh, their planet is completely destroyed. They can't bring more of them in. And their supreme leader goes, well, I'm going to just let my daughter take over and sacrifice myself. So
yeah, because she was more, I think it was more like, you know, I'd been way too obsessed with this. I kind of let it consume me, and it was all for nothing. I'm just going to let you take over, daughter, and be like your entire thing, you know, just do your stuff.
Yes.
Technically, it was good rolls. It was bad rolls for Josh, but good rolls for us, Lightning.
Yes, you didn't know, but you actually did well.
Yeah. I also had Legacies of Kain. We didn't have Records of Evil. Records of Evil is probably going to be rescheduled coming this week. Theoretically, I'm going to check in with people, and we're probably going to be having it at Mondays during the day. So a lot later, not mornings, like a couple hours later, like 2 or 3 hours later, Mondays, hopefully we can have it then, when everybody will be refreshed. But Legacies of Kain, they got to St. Martin after their adventures. Samuel came back, their Nosferatu's back with them, so they got the band back together. Finally, which was awesome. And they're getting into a fight with weird gangrel punks who want to pretend to be princes of this place, even though it's like they don't really have princes, but they're like, we're in charge now. And they're like, we got our own way of doing things. And they're like, well, we're not... And they're trying to convince them that they're not coming in to, like, take over, which is what they're thinking. Yeah. They're worried about that, and therefore being aggressive, so they don't technically need to be. So that's a thing. And we got to learn about Saint Martin, or whatever I think that's the French side, and the Dutch side is called something else, because apparently it's technically French and Dutch still. The more you know. We got to learn about a Caribbean island. And then on Wednesday we had Carrion Crown, where they went to Herstag, which was a village haunted by wraith children. Because a serial child killer wraith, who had been like a serial killer during life and had been executed by some people and covered in bees. They pulled a, what's his face, Nicolas Cage, not the bees on him. And so he came back as
Henry Winkler in bees.
No, in this case it was Nick Cage, where he's like, not the bees. They pulled a not the bees on him, and that made him come back as an evil wraith, and then he just, continued to stalk children. And he basically destroyed a small village, and they found out all about that. And then on Thursday we had Children of Wrath, which they got to Carrie's village, and learned it's being menaced by a monster. And
Max stuck his foot in his mouth yet again.
It's Max. Max.
We love Max, and yes, it is part of his character, but it was just like, really, man, you thought it was a good idea until he got to the gates of Carrie's village and announced to the guard, we're here to help you with your monster problem. And we're all like, wait, monster problem?
It was a little late. I'm like, you have lots of opportunities to tell them. No? Okay.
And at first we all thought it was just, him not remembering he was told, so we kept, like, hey, are you going to mention it to us
I thought
now?
we'd get a reward, and they're like, what? Reward? But what about the mines that you were talking about? I thought you'd been fine.
It's like, yeah, we were talking about going to a mine. It's like, and he knew that there was danger at Carrie's village.
He did, in character, technically push for we can come back to it.
Yes, but it was just kind of like...
and we also, when we were talking about the entire mine, we did, calculate the weight of a giant chunk of sapphire. That was an entire thing. That we had to dive into the math of how much... Because I originally said it was a horse-sized sapphire, which then we figured out that probably couldn't exist in reality. Even if we reduced it to, a half-meter cube volume of sapphire, it still weighs, half a ton. Yeah.
That's a lot.
I was trying to think about it, and, it was one of those things about, comparing kilograms to pounds. And I didn't even think about how much... They're it's 250 grams is, the largest sapphire. And I'm like, oh, wait, that weighs a lot. That still weighs a lot. When you pick that thing up, it's hefty. It looks like it isn't much, but I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, 250 grams. That's a lot. It's sort of 2.5 pounds per kilogram or something like that, approximately. So when it's a fourth of a kilogram, it's it's not quite a pound, but it's still freaking over half a pound of weight to a freaking gem. I'm I didn't even think about that being that weight. And then you can definitely fit more than 1,000 of those in the giant meter cube. It was crazy. It was fun with that, though. It was... Sometimes we hit these problems like that, and I enjoy these problems, but they're weird math problems about how much should this actually weigh, or how much volume should this actually take up. The weird D&D/RPG math problems. They're fun. Yeah. But that was our weekend tabletop. It was a good one. I hope those highlights kind of push you to check out some of those games yourself out there. Now is our regular final segment, Consult the Table, where you out there can ask this table questions. Whether or not it's something related to tabletop or otherwise, you can pose as a question. If you are in Twitch chat now, you can throw it into Twitch chat. You can throw it together at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. You can throw it into Discord. Either you can use my Discord link down below to join it, and either there you can message me or Joe directly. There's a Discussing Tabletop section of my Discord where you can reach us at there. There's also adding us at Dracovin for me, or at JW Seeker 81 for Joe. Yep. When is Watertime Pathfinder adventure starting? I don't know yet. There are plenty of Pathfinder and other game adventures that I am planning on starting that I have to look into investing and creating. Especially because he wants to do a pirate adventure game, and I was talking about doing Skulls and Shackles or something else on my own, even though Blaze played part of it. I was talking about doing something like that. There was talking about doing on stream a Pathfinder First Edition game, and then also Besom and Shadowrun, and I probably, when Records ends, I probably want to replace that with a D&D one, so I at least have 2 D&D games on the channel. And I don't know if I'm doing anything on a Sunday at this point in time, or if I'm doing...
Yeah, because after this Sunday...
I don't know if I'm bringing back Sundays at Tabletop or trying for another RPG on it. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. There's a lot of I haven't decided in this thing, and things that I got to do to set up changes and bring about new stuff on the channels, both Twitch and YouTube, and kind of upgrade how I'm doing stuff. And I've talked with some people about it, and I know kind of some of the things I just have to figure them out. But yeah. But at Twitter, you can add us directly. And if it's a question we can answer right then and there, we'll answer it for you. If it's something that seems relative to bring to this here, we can. Especially if you throw it into the Discussing Tabletop section. Those are kind of questions that are assumed that if they're not something we can answer quickly, we'll bring to this channel here to talk about. Yep. But you can always consult us with stuff. So anyway.
Just don't insult us with stuff.
Certainly not. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. I hope the rest of your Saturday is really great. You can join me and Joe tomorrow for Grinding Gears 7 p.m.
Yep.
Yes,
the final...
The finale.
Finale, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely it's going to be a big one. And then, of course, if you're looking for a schedule for other things, Monday, I'm thinking probably 1, maybe noon, Records of Evil, then 2 p.m. Tuesday, all Eastern Standard Time for Legacies of Kain. Thursday at 8 p.m. for Children of Wrath. Theoretically, I might be getting some gaming stuff in. I might, if I can organize it this week, I might do a one-shot for Halloween, or I'll do something else for Halloween. I haven't decided yet for that one. Expect some gaming streams, hopefully. Also, sometime this week, I'm going to try to get back into some of them at least. Even if I don't have a full schedule up, I will try to at least do one. Try to get back into it, So, anyway, everybody, hope your rest of your side is great. Hope your rest of your weekend's great. If you can't join us for Grinding Gears, just hope you have a great rest of your weekend in general, great rest of your week, and then we'll hopefully see you at very least, theoretically next week for more Discussing Tabletop. So, until then, farewell, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.